Good morning and welcome back to the adventures of Mac and Anthea. We've been back from northern Spain now, probably a couple of months. We're into sort of the middle of October. We spent sort of 2 weeks hiding away from the rest of the sunshine, waiting for things to cool down. And then a month working on a customer's house who's coming over here on holiday. He should be here sort of the next few days. So yeah, we've been busy with that. But now it's finally time, now things have cooled down a bit, to get onto some of the off-grid sort of jobs down at the farm. And to sort of try and catch up on with the long list of that we've got going on. So first up, we've got the digger. The poor old digger's been in the wars. So let me quickly just turn you around and run you through that. Okay, so if you follow the channel, you've probably heard me mention this a few times on this digger. It's been getting gradually worse and worse over the years. And it's this hydraulic leak actually on this piston here. Now, normally this is a sort of repair that I would have sorted out a long time ago. But parts for these diggers and on this digger aren't that easy to come by sort of down in Spain or even online. You know, it's not like going and just buying some parts for the van or something. You know, you just give the make a model and they'll give you the parts. It's a bit more complicated than that. We've got a local Komatsu dealer here, but they're not that great. I ain't got a lot of confidence in them, and I think, you know, I'm just opening myself up to a world of pain trying to get it off them. You know, really had problems trying to get these parts. The only other option was to sort of take it all apart, take the individual seals down to the local engineering shop here in a nearby town, and they'd match them up. But of course, then the digger's completely out of action. If they can't, then I've still got problems. So as time's gone on, I found that actually they do them on AliExpress. Got in touch with a guy on AliExpress, took some photos of the digger, and he just, yep, this is the one you want, and sent them over to me, easy. So now we're finally onto this job. Okay, so I started off, I bought this actual tool here from AliExpress. Cheapy jobbo. It's 61 to 121 millimeters. But it looked a bit flimsy and it wasn't going to do the job, but in actual fact it did it quite well. I'll put a link in the description below for this part. So I started off with this, and this bar just wasn't having it, wasn't loosening it at all. So then we went on to this bigger bar here, slid it on there and used that, and we did loosen it up with no damage to the tool. So turns out the tool's more than up to the job. Wouldn't want to use it on a daily basis, but for the occasional use that I'm going to use it for, it's fine. Okay, so you can see the tool here. They do different ends for these for different types of nuts here. Put on there, pull, and as you can see, that's now moving. Okay, so I just want to mention at this point here, this is not a how to do video. I've never done this before. It's just sort of a video to show you how I've done things and see how I get on. So this is my plan. What I plan to do is actually use this screwdriver you see here, and actually use it to brace underneath here the arm. Now the arm's pretty well braced anyway with this sort of going down here, the end of the arm, but I just want to be sure. Then the idea I think I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect this piston here at the top here and lie it down a little bit, sort of pointing upwards. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to completely extend this out of the piston as far as it will go, and then just back it up slightly to take the pressure off this bolt. At that point then I'll undo that bolt. The theory is behind that is if I push the piston all the way out of here, hopefully all the fluid will be behind it and it'll all be down in the actual main housing, and hopefully we'll lose less fluid. We'll have to see how we go. Also, whether you've noted, underneath this panel here, you'll see it in a bit when I do it, there's actually a nut on top of the hydraulic liquid tank. And that is actually pressurised, so before I actually remove that, I should remove that nut on the top of that to depressurise the system. Okay, so that's the pin out there. I took the two nuts out of here. I'm not really sure what they are, but in case they were binding against the pin, but they don't seem to be. And I'll put another little screwjack in there just to support that. So what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to lower this piston down a little bit, sort of at this angle, and then we'll start it up and extend it fully. Okay, so we've fully extended that now and just drawn it back slightly just to take the pressure off this nut for when we loosen it off. Now, nearly forgot, but Anthea's just reminded me. We've got to loosen off the pressure there on the nut on the main tank underneath that cover. So let's get that cover off, expose the tank and get that nut, which is actually the cap of the tank, loosened. Don't know if you just picked that up on mic, but that was just hissing away there as that depressurised. So that's depressurised. I'm just going to gently put that in loosely again, just to stop any dirt from getting in there and contaminating the hydraulic fluid. So now we're on to actually trying to pull the centre of this piston out. Okay, so I'm pulling on that and that seems to be sucking it back in. So I think what I'm going to try and do is loosen off one of these hydraulic pipes here and see if that lets some air out and stops it so we can draw it out.
Oh, the water, I think the oil's coming out. Right.
Got it?
Yep.
Okay, so that worked better. All I did there was started up the motor and gently pushed it away and it popped it out. And it looks like we're sort of getting minimal loss here. Okay, so we've just put that screw jack on, tilted that housing up a little bit higher to try and save on our fluid there. Jammed a polythene bag in there to stop any contamination. We've also loosened this nut off on the back here because that built a little bit of pressure again to get all the pressure out of the system so it's not pushing the fluid out. So it looks like, yeah, the best idea for that is to obviously loosen the retaining sleeve into here, loosen that right off and pull it away, and then start the engine, and then very, very gently and very, very carefully tiptoe it out of the end. And then when it pops out a little bit and you can start to see the seals, then stop the engine and it'll come off and it'll come away in your hands. So yeah, that was quite easy, which worries me because that's when things normally start to go wrong. So anyway, we're going to get this bit back to the farmhouse where all the rest of the tools are, where I've got the vice. Straight away I can see actually there's a little split here, whether that's meant to be there or not I don't know. We'll get back to the farmhouse and see if actually the seal kit that's been sent me is the right one. Okay, so we're back at the farmhouse. I'm at my workbench at the back of the property here. Got the shade for the time being. So we're going to crack on with this. Now I just want to say, I'm not an expert on doing these hydraulics, but I do a lot of mechanical work. And I think with most mechanical jobs, you can tackle them, achieve good results, even if you've never done them before. The main thing to remember is a really basic thing, really, is disassemble it in a particular order. You find the broken part, which is often pretty obvious, and then reassemble it in reverse order. It's not complicated. But one thing I do recommend you do, take lots of photos. I'm going to take all this apart in a minute, and I will take lots of photos for every angle, so that if I do have any problems, or say for instance I get pulled away to something else, which is often the case, and I come back to this a week later, I may not remember how it goes back together. So yeah, lots of cleanliness. I'm going to clean this all up with the compressor in a minute, make sure everything's spotlessly clean, especially where you're dealing with fuel systems or hydraulic systems. Clean all this up with the compressor. I'll take lots of photos, and then we'll start taking this apart and seeing if these old seals match the new ones. Okay, so that's all that cleaned up. I used the compressor. I used petrol to clean it up. I wouldn't normally use it on seals if I wasn't replacing them, but being these are coming off, I'm not going to worry about it. So that's all cleaned up nicely and done and dried. Clean the workbench again, got the oil and grease off of that. Washed my hands and got all grease and the grit off of them. So we all start off clean again. So now I'm going to take the photos of all the seals and where they are, and then the next stage is going to be to get this big nut off here and this whole bit off. Okay, so that's that done, that's that loosened off. I cheated. I took it down to an engineering place. There's one about 5 kilometres away on the industrial estate there if I go cross country. And I took it in there. They've got all the machinery, all the big old lathes and everything. So yeah, it still didn't come easy. Put it in a vice, rested it on the T-stand and used a huge industrial impact driver to get it off. And it still didn't come off easy. So anyway, we're on about 2 o'clock now, and as anybody who watches the channel regularly knows, I do the physical work in the morning and editing and that in the afternoon. So we're going to come back to this tomorrow morning. These seals I think are probably going to be a little bit fiddly and that, so yeah, we'll come back to that in the morning when I'm fresh. Good morning and welcome back. It's next day after disassembly, and we're going to crack on removing these seals. Been a bit windy this morning, but it's dropped a bit now, so hopefully it's not going to mess with the audio. We could drop into the workshop, but to be honest, I'd rather work in natural light outside, you know, if I can. Okay, so let's go and have a look what we've got to do. Okay, so there's our part. Our nut's been loosened now down at the industrial units in the industrial estate nearby. I've got some cheapy AliExpress picks, you know, they're cheap and cheerful, but I mean, how strong do they have to be to remove a few rubber seals? They're a couple of euros. I'll put a link in the description below. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate all these pieces bit by bit, photograph as I go along every little section, so if, you know, we know exactly how they're going to go back together, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so we've got a whole load of seals here that have come in a bag, and I'm going to just sort of generally match them up. That looks like that's a match sort of for there, so it looks like I'm going one for that. Suppose that one's probably there, looks like that's for there. Yeah, we've got various sort of white seals, they look like they're in for there. 1, 2, yeah, hopefully we've got them. So ideally I would have sort of, I'll take all these off, clean up and put them back on, but I don't want to risk that. I think I'm going to take one off at a time and put them back on one at a time, just so that I'm sure that I get them right. Okay, so I've got to look a bit more closely and clean this up, and this has actually got a retaining clip in here. It's just, I've managed to leave it out with a screwdriver. Carefully does it. It doesn't look like we've got one in the kit to replace it. Okay, so I've just popped inside, I'll put this in the vise, bit of cloth around it to protect the threads, and I managed to get a chisel in there, tap with the hammer on the opposite side, and this actual seal came out. Okay, and then looking inside here, it looks like there's another big, there we go, seal there. So let's try and match these up. Yeah, they definitely look different, those, but I'm thinking probably this one's the one that goes onto the outside. It's the same diameter. Yeah, so I think that's going to go on the outside last. And I'm thinking probably that seal's the one that goes on the inside. I can't see anywhere else it would go, and I can't see any other seal that's close. Okay, so let's get this cleaned up, all inside and everything here, and then we'll fit these two seals to the inside. Okay, so that's all cleaned up. We'll push the seal in here. We're going to let that go in. Ease him in gently. Let me feed him through. Okay, and he's in there nicely there. Okay, it's looking good. Right, and then we've got this new one. Now I can say it's slightly different, but I'm thinking we want this rubber. Well, we certainly need this rubber on the outside here. Just going to make sure that this screw's well cleaned out here, where the clip's got to go in. Maybe should have done that before. Okay, let's see if this one's going to go in. Try it dry to start with. Yeah. Now I'm going to put some lubrication on this. Okay, so that's got in. All I did with that is lined up the seal along here carefully, put the block of wood in, tapped it, hammer flat down as far as I could, and then I'll just use this chisel very, very carefully all the way around the edge here just to tap it down that last bit. Now let's see if our clip's going to go back in. Okay, that's our clip back in. It looks like the seal's very slightly lower than the clip, but I don't think that's going to matter. If it pushes itself back out, at least it will stop the whole seal from popping out. Okay, so I think we're going to onto these outside ones. Okay. Sort of a plasticky, these are obviously a rubber seal. Don't be too careful because obviously we're scrapping them. Right, so let's clean this up about again here. See if we can match these up with these and get them fitted. In fact, I'm going to change my mind. I think what we're going to do is we can take these off as well, because obviously we're going to be putting the new ones over the top of these new ones. Maybe we should get these on first. And so I carefully replaced all these rubber seals one by one. I'm not going to film or include in the video every single one because it's pretty much rinse and repeat on all of them. Just carefully remove the old seals, clean up the surfaces and carefully replace on with the new ones. Okay, and I think that's pretty much done. I'll consult the photos just to make sure, but I think we're identical as what it was before. We'll hook this seal out here. That one off. Seal back on there. I think it's safe to say that section's done. So, onto this one. So, look at this one. These seem to have little splits in them here, so I'm going to find these on the old one and see if I can lever it out. And so, as before, I carefully took off the seals, noted how they came off, cleaned all the surfaces and then just put the new seals on again in reverse order. One of these seals was made of a particularly hard nylon rather than rubber, so with this one, rather than trying to stretch it and break it, I soaked it in boiling water first, which made it more pliable and easier to fit. Okay, and that's that one on there. Sorry I didn't film that, but I put it in boiling water. It's not the warmest of days today, so I couldn't hang around filming. So I've just quickly slipped that on, but putting that in boiling water certainly makes it pliable enough to slide it over now. So we've just got these little side clips to go back in. So one's here, and that should be it. And I think that's the job done, sort of seal wise. Of course they're fiddly, but I've done a lot worse jobs. Okay, let's get it back together. So I've all doubly checked and cleaned everything again on this, make sure there's no dirt or any grit or anything on it. Just going to lightly lubricate this. Probably should be using hydraulic fluid to do this, but this is just motor oil. I'm sure it won't do the seals any harm. And I really don't think it's going to make a great deal of difference to my old digger. Okay. Let's get it more on. Okay, I've just had to hold on to this, put a block of wood on the floor and bang this down onto the block and it slid on. It's just that inner seal that it was caught on. Put this little sleeve back on, which is going to slide into here. And then this, I believe, goes this way. I'll check with the photos in a minute. So hopefully this will slide back. So, let's check our photos. Okay, so we're lucky we checked the photos. I had this one on the wrong way around, so I've just spun that round. So I think that's time to clean the nut up. Got that tightened back on with the spanner, and then we'll be ready for reassembly on the machine. Okay, so we're back down the farm. I've got mechanics mate down here with me to lend a hand. She's taken her break from making pies, so I don't want to keep her too long from making pies. We like our pies. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the housing of this piston and make sure there's no screws or anything in that, and then we'll get on with the job of assembly. Okay, so taking a look in there, I can't see any major scores. And to be honest, even if there was a bit of damage in there, there's very little I can do about it at this stage. It's got to go back together and we've got to get it working. So, yeah, let's get on with it. Okay, so we're going to lower this down slightly with the screw jack, enough so that we could get the piston in, but not so much that the actual fluid's going to flow out. So let's just take that down a little bit. Okay, that's about it. The fluid's about to here. Now we've already poured a bit of fluid over all the seals and everything in the attempt to get it lubricant and hopefully slip in a bit. So let's try it. Okay, so I've tried pushing this down, but it's sort of pushing it back out again, the force of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try the reverse of how I got it out. Before I pushed the piston out with the hydraulics and it released it. This time I'm going to try drawing it back in with the machine starter. So I'll see how well that works, I don't know. Gently does it.
Oh, out.
Okay, so that was a fail. It doesn't matter which position we push the seat, it's just squirting the fluid straight out. So yeah, didn't work. So we just have to try and force it in. Okay, so yeah, what we've had to do to get this into position, I have to do it off camera unfortunately, is we've just disconnected this pipe here, which runs to the bottom here of the housing. I suppose the air and the oil that's already in here has got to go somewhere where you push the rod in, and of course it can't, you know, it's just pushing the rod back out as I'm trying to shove it in. Well, I seem to have got us down to the threads now, so we'll try and tighten it up from here. So at this point I tightened down the threaded collar down into the cylinder, with the hydraulic pipe still detached from the bottom of the cylinder. I recommend screwing this threaded collar all the way in, all barring the last couple of millimetres. And then refit the hydraulic hose before tightening down the threaded collar the last few millimetres. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to spark the engine up. Just test this piston in and out a few times, not to the extremities, and being mindful that we've lost some fluid as well, so I don't want to get carried away. Just to make sure it's moving up and down okay. Unfortunately, this wasn't to be, and the battery that was already pretty flat was now completely flat. Good morning and welcome back. Unfortunately, yesterday we come to start the engine and test this hydraulic ram, only for the battery to be flat. It was struggling a bit the time before I'd tried to start it, because obviously it's been sat for 3 months. So yeah, we've managed to drag this job on to a third day. We took the battery home, charged it up, and this morning I've been down to town to get some more hydraulic fluid to top up the reservoir there. So let's get this battery in and see if we can get this machine started. Okay, so that's the battery in, bit of hydraulic fluid in, let's give her a go. Okay, there she is, she's running. Okay, so I'm just going to give it a minute, I think, just to warm up just a touch, and then we're going to very, very gently try this ram to see if it's working. I think to start with, I'm just going to gently do it in and out a little bit, and then gradually increase to try and expel the air and keep an eye on the fluid level and take it from there. Okay, so I'm just pushing this backwards and forwards nice and gently. We've just got the engine just ticking over. Okay, that seems to be working fine. Just going to turn around to here. See if we've got any pressure built up in here. Let this loose. Okay, levels don't look good, but that's not the correct place anyway. The arm needs to be fully extended and flat to check the level of fluid. So I'm just going to test this a few more times, and then we're going to see about this, getting this hook back up. We'll extend the arm completely, get the level up to the right level, and then we'll try and expel some more air. Okay, so now we've got the procedure, which isn't ever so easy. We've got to try and get this bar here actually lined up at just the right height to fit into here, which needs to be right by sort of millimetres. I think what I'll do is I'll extend it, I'll line it up, I'll stick a thin socket bar, extension bar, and hold it in place before I fine tune it to get it to the last millimetre, so I can then tap in the pin. Okay, so that's the ram refitted back to the arm. I'll fit it up here, the tiny bolts back in. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to lift the arm slightly. We're going to get this screw jack out from here, and we'll fully extend the arm and put it flat to the ground, which is the correct position for it to be in for us to check the hydraulic oil level. Okay, so that's the correct position for the arm to be in to check the actual fluid levels. We come across the edge of the tank here, and as we can see in this little eyelet here, there's nothing there at all. So we're going to fill up the oil in there through this cap here. Hopefully we've got enough with the 5 litres I've bought, and see if we can get that back into the centre of that red sort of circle there, and then we'll get to sort of expelling all the oil, the air out of the system. Okay, so I've just put that in. That's all the 5 litres. It's just sort of just above the level here. So I hope there's not too much air in there, otherwise it's going to be back down to the shop to buy another 5 litres. Probably would have been cheaper to buy the whole 25, but there you go. Okay then, so we're going to get all the air, which means lifting and lowering the arm up and down, all the air out of its hydraulic system. But before I do that, now it's all together, I'm just going to take the opportunity to just give this one last tweak up with the tool, and then we'll start to expelling the air. Okay, and hopefully if you can see that on camera, that's completely disappeared out of the little view hole there, the oil. So I'm afraid it's back down to the shop, and we're going to have to go and buy another 5 litres. Okay, so I've been down collecting some more oil. I've topped it up to the level again, and did the whole procedure again of you know, getting the air out of the system. And yeah, that time the level didn't go down. Unfortunately, whilst testing, I've noticed another leak. I can't believe this. I'll turn you around and show you now. Now this one here, which never was leaking before, has decided to leak out the bottom again. So it looks like I've got another repair. Okay, so nevertheless, you know, another one to repair, but I'm going to count that one there as successful. Final thoughts on this job, I'm thinking, because I'm going to end this video here now. It's a fairly simple job for your average DIY mechanic. There's no reason why you can't do that. The hardest bit is probably doing the seals. You know, I'd recommend, you know, if you've disassembled it all and everything and it's getting late on in the day, you know, you do the seals when you're fresh in the morning, not last thing at night when you're tired, because, you know, that's where things can go wrong, and, you know, and it's fiddly. So I'm just going to spin you around. We'll talk a little bit more about the cylinder, what I may have, you know, what I did right and what I thought I'd do different next time. Okay, so leaving the actual, the ram on the machine for me, I would do that again. That seems to be the right call. I'm sort of the opinion it doesn't matter how strong your vise is, how stable your workbench is, it's never going to be as strong as leaving it attached to a 2.5 ton machine or whatever weight your machine is. It keeps it well stable, you can support it sort of at this point here, and it makes it easy to disassemble and assemble. As for sort of disassembly, blowing this out using the hydraulic system was a bit too harsh for my liking. I mean, I'll probably use as a last resort. I think if I did it again, when I pulled this piece out of the outer part, I would loosen off this lower union here first to release the pressure in the air, and then try and tickle it out, and then failing that, yeah, start up the engine and blow it out that way. But first I'd try and tickle it out a bit first, so I certainly would have done that different. Now, does it save any fluid? I'm not sure whether it saves any fluid or not this way. You know, I've put about just over 5 litres back into the system, so who knows whether that actually contains 5 litres or not. I don't know. But looking to say at all these other cylinders, they're all ones that could all be done on the machine. You know, this one you can release here by the pin and sort of tip up slightly with the arm down. Same goes for this one here down on the bucket. So you could do all of them on the machine. Okay, so as for the seal kit from AliExpress, really happy with the seal kit from AliExpress. The actual inner seals, which were the ones that actually failed, actually look better quality than the originals. And when you think about it, that actually makes sense, because this machine's about 25 years old. The seals in it are almost certainly 25 years old. And of course, the materials used to make these seals now have come a long way probably in those 25 years. So yeah, there's no big surprise that these new seals and that are going to be better quality than the old ones. What I'm going to do is I'll put the name of the guy up here, the shop up here for AliExpress. I'll put a link in also below. Even if your machine's not the same as mine, it'll get you to the shop and you can ask him the questions you need to ask. I sent him a photo of the machine, a photo of the hydraulic ram on the boom there, and the ID plate, and he got straight back to me and says, this is the one you need, here's the link. So the guy knows exactly what he's talking about because it came over and it was correct. Now, had I gone to the local Komatsu dealer, it probably would have cost me 4 times as much. I would have waited for weeks for it to come, and if past experience is anything to go by, it would have come wrong, and then I would have waited weeks again for the correct part to come. So yeah, I wouldn't hesitate to buy it off them again. That was about €40, that kit. I probably spent more on hydraulic fluid than that. So I think I'm going to end that video there. I think I'm going to go and find a nice quiet corner, nice dark one to go and sit and cry over this other hydraulic ram. I've now got to go through the complete process again, repairing that. Please, if you're new to the channel, check out the channel. There's lots of videos similar to this, various repair videos, e-bike builds, a lot of solar panel and solar system sort of videos. There's off-grid, farming, which we do all around here, sort of olive farming and that. And there's also our sort of off-grid timeout or burnout sort of videos where we go away and we do e-bike rides up in the mountainous regions of Spain, kayaking, hiking, all that sort of thing. So there's a good range, and hopefully, plenty there for everybody on our channel. So please check that out. So all it remains, thank you for watching. Please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.